Joining me today, the one and only Reverie, Southern California's finest, one of the most dynamic independent artists in the game today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. What's up? LA is in the house. My new album drops this Friday. Sometimes I like to sing.
Sometimes I like to sing. Okay, so what can fans expect from this project? I know it's a little bit different from what they might be familiar with you previously.
Yeah, so this project, it's an album about love, and I'm doing a lot of singing on it, you know, and the title is called Sometimes I Like to Sing because I knew that when I was gonna release this project, it was gonna face some people that weren't understanding what I was doing or what I want to do, and I knew that they weren't gonna like it. So I feel like the name's a little bit sassy, it's a little sarcastic, it's a little, you know, and then it's also to the point, you know, and sometimes I like to sing, you know. What happened to your rap shit? Well, sometimes I like to sing, you know, and I'm even seeing fans in the comments like arguing with each other, and then someone will be like, well, sometimes she likes to sing, you know. So it was kind of a mix of all that, and I am showing a lot of sarcasm and like dark humor in a way in this album as well, so I feel like that title really went with it. So it's just gonna be a lot of singing, a lot of harmonizing. The lyrics are still really deep and vulnerable and dope. And I wrote the whole record, actually. And I did a lot of co-producing on it. I have my hands really dirty in the production of this album. Like even with the recording, I recorded some of the songs myself. I'm doing the mixing, I'm involved in approving the masters, I'm making beat breaks, I'm doing all kinds of stuff on the actual production. And most artists, they just record and leave the studio, but I'm very hands-on with everything I do. Like, yeah, and that's always how it's been.
Yeah, wait, so you were actually on the boards a little bit on this one?
I was actually on the boards, yeah.
Is this your first time?
No, I've been doing it for a few years. I've been on the boards for a few years, but as time has gone by, I'm becoming more involved in the boards. Yeah, it's awesome. I just have very specific visions, you know, and even with my videos, I direct my music videos, not all of them, but a good chunk of them, and I have my clothing line. I'm also the creative director of this. I just have I have my vision, and I know what I want things to look and sound like. More and more as the years are going by, and I guess growing my businesses and being in the game for a decade now has really shown me how to execute my vision, you know, and that's become something I really enjoy doing. Yeah.
Is it 100% singing on this album?
It's not 100% singing. There's definitely rapping on it, but it's a lot of singing. Like, I don't know what like number I would give. I don't really know. I would say like half of it singing. Let's say half of it singing. Yeah.
Was that a challenge putting together a vocal heavy album in that sense, as opposed to bar heavy album or some of your previous work?
This was definitely a different process with recording and even beat selecting and just everything. Even writing it has been very different. As far as recording, it's been very tedious. Recording vocals is a lot more tedious than recording rap vocals, at least for me. I'm only speaking for myself. So yeah, and that's actually the reason that I actually recorded some of these songs myself, because I don't even like annoying people with recording me, because I tell them, like, I pour Loudon, I drive him crazy. I'm like, recording, he's like, we recorded a million times, it sounds the same as the first one. I'm like, it's just not right, you know. It's just, so it's been really tedious for sure, but I like that process. One of the things I do like about recording with an engineer though is that I can't be too obsessive, because I'm very obsessive with my music and with my art. That's like the one thing in my life that I try to control, you know. It's like I'm not trying to control anybody. I just only my business, and even outside of my business, people are like, oh, what do you want to do? I'm like, you guys pick. I don't want to pick shit. I pick all day with my music and with my art, you know. So, but anyways, it's better with an engineer for me sometimes because I have to just finish it. Because for example, I recorded this one song. The first song, was it the first song on the album? No, it's the Get to Know Ya song. It's called Get to Know Ya. That's one of the singles that's out right now. That song, I think Loudon recorded like the first 2 lines, and after that he was like, Jordan, I am not recording this song. You got me fucked up. And I was like, you know what? I'll record it then, you know? And then I did, and I was in the studio for like, I don't know, like something ridiculous, like 6 hours or something. And that's a long time for one song, at least for me. Like usually I record a rap in an hour or 2, you know, like max. And so it really taught me a lot about what did that teach me about? I guess that just taught me about what I wanted to sound like. You know, being in the studio by myself for 6 hours recording myself like a crazy person made me realize, holy shit, my voice could sound like this. You know, I just have to get it right. It was hard at first recording vocals that are singing because I didn't know how, you know? And even performing, oh my God, I'm nervous about performing these new songs. It's really hard to perform singing. And now when I see singers and they're on the stage and they're like kind of like off key, I'm like, oh, never mind. And now I'm not gonna talk any kind of shit anymore. Because before I'd be like, they don't even sound like the album. And now I'm like, holy shit, I don't even sound like the album. Like, so wish me luck.
That's so funny. There's so much, I tend to have so much respect for like Lauryn Hill in like situations like that. You know what I mean? Like, she catches a lot of flack, I think, because her renditions don't necessarily sound like the album in the same way they used to. But in general, I mean, being on stage, you've got speakers here, you got monitors here, you know, hopefully you got earbuds in or something where you can hear yourself a little bit better, but there's so many distractions, it's so easy to get off key.
Yeah, and now she has like her whole band, like the traveling band. She travels with the band, right? I don't even. That's amazing. Yeah. She's amazing. You know, she's obviously, you know.
Well, you've been singing you've been singing on your tracks for a long time. Like you would sing hooks. Like I love that song, Blocked. Got a new number, got another new number. Right, you know.
Thank you.
But so it seems like you've been kind of moving in this direction for a little bit. This seems like a conscious thought.
Yeah. I don't really know if it was conscious at first. Actually, as a matter of fact, it's not. It was not, and I'll tell you when it became conscious. So around that time when I dropped that song Blocked, I want to say that was like 2 years ago. That was actually that album, Where the Dark Side Ends. That was when I started really singing more. And then I didn't even really notice until after the album was out and I heard it. I was like, oh shit, almost all these songs are like kind of half singy, or like at least have a little bit of singing in them. And I didn't really notice, you know, when you're wrapped up in the project, you're hearing it a million times, but you're not hearing it like how you're gonna hear it after it's out and everyone's hearing it. You know, it's just a different ear. And I was just making sure that it sounded how I wanted to sound. I wasn't listening as a listener when I made that album. But anyways, point being, it was a lot of singing in it. And a couple years before that, that's when I started doing more singing, but that was when it was getting like another level singing on that album. Anyways, point being, a couple years before that album, around that time when I made that album, now it's a couple years into me doing more singing stuff, and my homie Jimmy, shout out to Jamie, Urban Kings, he told me, hey, I like what you're doing with this whole singing thing, but I think your fans don't really get it. And I think it sounds really dope. And I think if you made a project that was more singy, people would understand it more as a whole piece, you know? It's like, cause I think maybe you're like moving too fast or something like that. Like your fans aren't gonna get it. And then I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. A whole project of singing. I never really thought about that maybe it would be easier to understand. And I was like, okay, I'll make that one day, you know? And then now it's fucking, I wanna say that was like 5 years ago. It was probably 4 years ago. It was probably 4 years ago. But actually this project, I've actually been working on it for 6 years because some of the songs on this project are 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm fucking weird. I do that shit. I put like old songs on new projects. And I didn't even know it was weird until the other day. Shout out to my homegirl Gavlin, but I was telling her about the album and she's like, yeah, when did you start this project? I was like, oh, 6 years ago. She's like, that's so cool. I always think it's so cool how you do that. You're one of the only artists I know that does that. You take songs that are so old and you still put them out. She's like, when I have a song, once it's like couple months old, I hate it, you know? And I was like, oh, I guess it is weird that I do that. I never really thought about it because I just see my process, you know? But I do that a lot. I have really old songs that I'll put on new albums and nobody knows it's old, you know? Only I know it, but let's see if you guys could see which ones are the old songs. I'm interested. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, you know, are you pulling from real life experiences here? I know you mentioned some of the skits are inspired by people around you, but does any of that cynicism bleed into some of the stuff that's more directly tied to you that fans will hear in this album?
Absolutely. I would say most of the album is from a first-hand perspective. There's a couple tracks that are not, you know, there's some truth bearing, there's some manifesting, there's some pleasure, there's some pain. It's a good mix. If you are in love, you're gonna like the first half. And if you're heartbroken, you're gonna like the second half of the album. So yeah, that's what I would say. But it's a lot of me on there for sure.
What's an example of truth bearing? I haven't heard the album yet. It doesn't come out until tonight. But what's an example of truth bearing that stands out that your fans might notice?
In the album,
on either side, the first half or the second half.
Oh wow. You know, it's easy to talk about things on songs, but in person it's like another thing that I'm not that great at. But I guess I can say that during the first few years of my career, I wrote a lot about heartbreak because that's basically what I was going through for those first years of my career, you know. And in the past couple years, I feel like I finally have experienced something different, you know, something more healthy and something not abusive, you know, and toxic. And that's been really different for me because that's all I've known my whole life up until very recently, you know. And so I would say me just talking about love in a healthy way is me bearing my soul because for so long I was talking about the opposite, you know, and I think it's gonna be really different for my listeners to hear me rapping or singing about love because I probably have made like 2 love songs in my whole career of making music before this album. And now I have like so many love songs on there because I've experienced something different. You know, the album is basically about my dating life for the past few years, you know, and so there's a lot of different phases. But I would just say me singing and being vulnerable about being in love or having felt some kind of these feelings is bearing my soul. That's truth bearing for me, and I think my fans are really gonna like it, and they're it's gonna be really different. And then on the opposite end of the album, maybe you can guess which songs are older, you know. Then the opposite end of the second half of the album, it gets kind of dark, and it's very raw, and it's very honest, and it's very vulnerable, and it's very humiliating, and it's very liberating, and it's a lot. The lyrics just, yeah, like you asked, is it about my life? Most of it is. So just the whole thing is truth bearing, really.